My name is Grant Sellers. I've lived in Clovis for a little over a year, and I'm originally from Lexington, Kentucky. I had done a lot of research on the whole solar thing, so I kind of had a number in mind that I was like, I need a system that costs within this ballpark figure before it's going to be worth it for me, right? I'm not necessarily a high user. I don't have an electric bill of $250 a month or something. Pretty small house, 1,400 square foot house. I live here alone most of the time. I do have roommates that will come through, just nothing necessarily long term. My average electric bill is about $150. As of right now, I am noticing that my usage based on my meter is less than half of what it was. I've produced more electricity in the past 3 weeks just since I turned them on than I've used from the electric company. So I'm expecting somewhere in the range of maybe $70 to $75. I first heard of Premier Solar Systems on an Instagram ad. I had been searching around for solar companies in the area and talked to a few of them. And then Premier's ad popped up, and I clicked on it. I filled out the information, and literally within the day, Edward was calling me up and asking if he could stop by, and give me an estimate on the system that I was looking for. He was asking more questions to help figure out what I needed, and I really felt like it was a relationship from the very start that was going to work out. Also, he visited me within the first week of making contact with me. Showed up at my doorstep. He was texting me, right? We've been texting back and forth, and then he was like, "Hey man, would you have time for a visit?" He's like, "I'm in Clovis, I'm 5 minutes away." I was like, what in the world? You're coming here? I was just expecting to talk to somebody in El Paso or whatever. So that really meant a lot, and it just got everything off on the right start. I have an engineering background, and I want to know, okay, what is this going to look like? What is the final result going to be? But also, how are we going to get there? And Edward was completely upfront about the whole thing. He was like, "Hey man, it's going to take about 6 months to get this all together, and it's going to cost this much," and really just walked me through all that. And some current concerns I had about the whole process were based on a lot of my research and reading and reviews, and kind of the pros and cons, right, of going solar in the first place. And one of those top ones is just not having a reliable installation provider, not having a company that's going to be around to service those panels later on down the road. And I realized that Premier is like a newer company, right? But so far, they have already provided service to some of their previous customers, and they are growing in such a way that I think they're going to be around to provide service in the future, especially in this area, New Mexico, as you mentioned. They've got some new projects going on. So when he was able to provide an estimate to me, it really just kind of opened up that door of okay, I don't have to worry about the cost. He's got a system that works for him, and he's going to make sure that that the cost is taken care of as far as in the final package. I'm not going to have to worry about additional fees or coming back and fixing things. I'd read some horror stories about systems that didn't work and additional costs on the back end. So really trying to avoid that, and I felt like Edward was upfront with me on that. But as far as the actual solar piece, Edward really just shared to me the advantages of having a system that I control, right? It's like free energy right here on my house that I can attach and even use without the electric company really having a say in it. So I had kind of made up my mind by the time Edward talked to me about it, but it just further reinforced that what I wanted to hear and what I wanted to know about solar. My experience after I signed the contract was kind of I kind of held my breath for a bit, just because I knew that once I signed and I paid up half up front in cash, right? I was paying in cash, and kind of held my breath, just kind of seeing what it would look like. Would Edward change? Would the process change at all? And it absolutely did not. He was very accessible, especially by text and phone call. That's usually how I got a hold of him. And then if I needed anyone else in the company, he was my main contact for that. Case in point, my electric company needed additional paperwork from him later on in the process when we were doing approvals. And he was the person that made sure that happened. I got an email later that day from another person in the company providing me with those documents. But as far as the timeline, from when I signed back in February, I believe. And then it was May by the time everything lined up with the parts and the labor and everything, the schedule for installation. And part of that was the permit process as well. So then May, I think it was the last week of May was when the system was installed. And then after that, he was still very available to me. I had a lot of follow-up questions because the electric company continued to have just different things that they needed. And like some paperwork didn't get submitted to the city or something, so we had to go back, double tap on all that. And Edward was just a text or a phone call away. I mean, most of the time it was a quick text, just like, hey, what's up? And I'll admit, in the short term, I was really concerned about just, like you said, making the sale and kind of just dropping off the face of the earth, especially Edward, right? He's a salesman. You know, when you talk to some of these other solar companies, you're talking to like a 1-800 number and they connect you to a different company, or it's like you're talking to 2 or 3 people before you can even get any information about actual cost or pricing or what the timeline is going to look like, you know, and those are things that are really important to me. But he's gone above and beyond. He's visited my house multiple times, and he's also just made sure that I was doing okay through the whole process, and just provided a level of customer service that I can't really explain that I've experienced from any other company. Even the guys that came to install it, they were sensitive to my roommates. My roommates had a different work schedule at the time, and they were able to work around that by just waiting on certain pieces of installation until later in the day, so the guys could get some sleep. But yeah, it's been a great process overall, man, and all of my concerns so far with that, up to now having a working system that's powering my house right now, have not existed with Premier Solar. I would recommend Premier Solar system to my friends and family because of the freedom it allows you to have in terms of your energy source, right? For me, I would much rather be getting clean solar energy than buying it from my electric provider, which I happen to know uses dirty energy from Oklahoma right now. So I know that I use that, right? I'm a customer of that, and if I have a choice to just turn on my switch right here, or during the daytime let the sun power my house, then I'm going to choose to do that. In addition to that, right, you're spending money on an initial investment, but that investment will pay off not only with additional resale value for your house, but also for the actual month-to-month cost, potentially, depending on how your system works out. For me, it's about 50% that I'm saving because my energy usage is pretty much 50-50 between night and day. But you can, of course, pair that with additional panels or batteries or however you want to do that to really free yourself of the electric grid. I'm thankful that we have electric providers all over the country, but there's a lot that they need to change in the future, and they're slow to do it right now. And if I can be a part of the change just from my own house, then I feel like that's a driving factor for me. And really, just to finish everything off, I just want to say thank you, Edward. Thank you, Premier Solar Systems, for giving me this opportunity to have a solar system on my house. I'm looking forward to telling my friends and family about it, and looking forward to seeing all the good work you do in the future.